Hello everyone, welcome to my channel SW Metro official channel.
How Kody's shocking choices drove a wedge between his children and Robyn forever. Kody Brown at the heart of the chaos. His shocking decisions, rooted in favoritism, emotional manipulation, and a blatant disregard for fairness, have not only fractured his marriages but also created an irreparable divide between his children and his fourth wife, Robyn. What began as a blended family built on unity and shared values has devolved into a toxic battleground where resentment festers, loyalties are questioned, and relationships are destroyed. Kody's blatant preferential treatment of Robyn and her children, his harsh demands for obedience, and his willingness to alienate his other wives and children have left deep scars that may never heal. The fallout has been especially devastating for his children, many of whom now view Robyn as the catalyst for their father's emotional abandonment. From unequal financial support to blatant favoritism during family crises, Kody's actions have driven an unbridgeable wedge between his kids and Robyn, one that will likely last forever. The roots of resentment, favoritism and financial inequality. One of the most glaring issues that fueled resentment among Kody's children was the obvious financial and emotional favoritism shown toward Robyn and her kids. While the Browns claimed to practice a fair and balanced plural marriage, evidence suggested otherwise. Robyn's home was consistently prioritized, whether it was the extravagant wedding, complete with a secret dress shopping trip that excluded the other wives, the disproportionate allocation of family resources, or Kody's insistence on adopting Robyn's children while neglecting his other kids' emotional needs. Christine, Janelle, and Mary's children watched as Robyn's family received more of Kody's time, attention, and financial support, while they were left feeling like second-class members of the family. This disparity became even more pronounced during the COVID-19 pandemic, when Kody used safety protocols as an excuse to isolate himself primarily with Robyn, leaving his other wives and children feeling abandoned. His rigid rules, which seemed to apply only to the other households, further alienated his kids, many of whom saw Robyn as the reason their father was absent. The COVID divide, a breaking point for the Brown kids. The pandemic was the breaking point for many of Kody's children, exposing the deep fractures in the family. While Kody claimed his strict rules were about safety, his hypocrisy was undeniable. He refused to visit Janelle's sons because they weren't following his protocols, yet he allowed Robyn's adult daughter, Dayton, to come and go as he pleased. He demanded that his other children adhere to extreme restrictions but made exceptions for Robyn's family. This double standard infuriated his kids, particularly Gabe and Garrison, who openly expressed their heartbreak over their father's neglect. Meanwhile, Robyn was portrayed as the compliant, obedient wife, further fueling the perception that she was manipulating Kody to monopolize his time. The children who once hoped for a close relationship with Robyn now saw her as an obstacle to their father's love, a divide that only grew wider as Kody continued to prioritize her over everyone else. Kody's emotional betrayal and the estrangement of his children. Perhaps the most devastating consequence of Kody's choices has been the emotional estrangement from his children. Many of them, including adult children like Paydon, Gwen, and Hunter, have publicly or privately expressed their disillusionment with their father. Some have outright rejected Robyn, blaming her for Kody's transformation from a fun-loving, engaged dad to a distant, authoritarian figure. Kody's shocking admission that he no longer had a strong relationship with many of his kids, and that he blamed them for the distance, was a gut punch to the entire family. His willingness to discard relationships with his children in favor of Robyn's unwavering loyalty has left permanent scars. Even more heartbreaking was his dismissive attitude toward Truly, Christine's youngest, whom he barely saw after Christine left. Meanwhile, Robyn's children remained front and center in his life, reinforcing the painful hierarchy that had been building for years. Robyn's role, innocent victim or calculated manipulator? While Kody bears the brunt of the blame for the family's collapse, Robyn's role cannot be ignored. Many of the Brown children believe she played an active part in alienating Kody from his other wives and kids. From the infamous catfishing scandal, which some speculate Robyn may have subtly encouraged to weaken Mary's standing, to her constant portrayal as the obedient wife who never challenged Kody, Robyn's actions, intentional or not, have had devastating consequences. Her insistence on being the last wife standing, her influence over Kody's decisions, and her willingness to accept preferential treatment have made reconciliation with the other Brown children nearly impossible. Even if Robyn never explicitly demanded Kody's exclusivity, her passive acceptance of his neglect toward his other families speaks volumes. A rift that may never heal. At this point, the damage is done. Many of Kody's children have moved on, building lives without their father's active presence. Some, like Kody, maintain a cordial relationship with Robyn, but others want nothing to do with her. The trust is broken, the wounds are deep, and Kody's refusal to take accountability ensures that this divide will remain. His shocking choices, prioritizing Robyn, abandoning his children, and refusing to acknowledge their pain, have forever altered the Brown family dynamics. Unless Kody has a drastic change of heart, his children's estrangement from Robyn, and from him, will be one of the most tragic legacies of sister wives, a stark reminder of how favoritism and emotional neglect can destroy even the largest, most seemingly united families. Kody Brown's divisive decisions fracturing relationships beyond repair. At the heart of this disintegration is the growing chasm between Kody's children and his fourth wife, Robyn Brown, a divide that now appears irreversible. What began as subtle favoritism snowballed into blatant inequity, leaving many of Kody's children feeling abandoned, resentful, and permanently estranged from Robyn and her children. The roots of this rift trace back to Kody's shocking choices, prioritizing Robyn's needs over his other wives and children, enforcing unfair COVID-19 rules that alienated his family, and allowing Robyn's influence to dictate his relationships with his own kids. These decisions didn't just strain the family, they shattered bonds, leaving wounds that may never heal. From the moment Robyn entered the family, there were signs of imbalance. Kody's other wives, Mary, Janelle, and Christine, had spent years building a plural marriage based on shared time, resources, and emotional investment. But Robyn's arrival disrupted that equilibrium. Kody's infatuation with her was obvious, and his children quickly noticed the disparity in treatment. He spent more time at Robyn's house, lavished her with attention, and even took an extended 11-day honeymoon with her while Christine was home with a newborn. This favoritism sowed early seeds of resentment among the kids, who watched their mothers struggle with neglect while Robyn enjoyed preferential treatment. The COVID-19 pandemic became the breaking point. Kody, under Robyn's influence, imposed strict rules that were not equally enforced across the family. While Robyn's household adhered to near-isolation protocols, other wives and children, particularly Janelle and Christine's, were expected to follow the same restrictions without flexibility. This hypocrisy reached a boiling point when Kody refused to attend his son Isabel's spinal surgery because it would require breaking quarantine, yet he showed no such hesitation in attending Robyn's daughter's graduation. The message was clear: Robyn's children came first. For kids like Gabe and Garrison, who openly expressed their pain over their father's absence, this was the ultimate betrayal. They had followed Kody's rules, only to watch him bend them for Robyn's family. The emotional fallout was devastating, with several of Kody's children cutting off contact or distancing themselves from him and Robyn entirely. Robyn's role in this estrangement cannot be understated. While she presents herself as a peacekeeper, her actions, and Kody's blind loyalty to her, have only deepened the divide. She has been accused of manipulating Kody's affections, monopolizing his time, and even influencing his decisions regarding his other children. When Christine decided to leave Kody, Robyn's reaction was telling. Rather than supporting unity, she seemed more concerned with how the split affected her family's stability. Meanwhile, Kody's estranged children watched as he poured his energy into salvaging his relationship with Robyn while neglecting the broken bonds with them. The final nail in the coffin was Kody's outright refusal to take accountability, instead blaming his children for their fractured relationships. His shocking declaration that he needed to court Robyn's kids, the ones still loyal to him, while dismissing his others as disrespectful, was a gut punch to children who had spent years craving their father's love. Now, the damage appears permanent. Many of Kody's children have moved on, building lives independent of him and Robyn. Some, like Janelle's kids, maintain a relationship with their mothers but keep their distance from Kody. Others, like Christine's children, have openly celebrated her freedom from the marriage, signaling where their loyalties lie. The few who remain close to Robyn and Kody exist in an echo chamber, further isolating the rest of the family. The once unified Brown clan is now fractured into factions, with Robyn at the center of the discord. Kody's choices didn't just strain his marriages, they destroyed his children's trust in him and their willingness to accept Robyn as family. By allowing favoritism to dictate his actions, by refusing to acknowledge his kids' pain, and by letting Robyn's influence override his responsibilities as a father, he created an irreparable divide. The children who once looked up to him now see a man who abandoned them for a wife who prioritized her own needs above theirs. And Robyn, whether intentionally or not, became the symbol of that betrayal. Unless Kody undergoes a massive reckoning, one where he acknowledges his failures and makes amends, this rift will last forever. The Brown children may forgive, but they will never forget how their father's shocking choices drove them away, and how Robyn's presence made reconciliation impossible. Kody Brown's once unified family slowly unraveled under the weight of favoritism, jealousy, and broken promises. While the collapse of his marriages to Mary, Janelle, and Christine was devastating, one of the most heartbreaking consequences of Kody's actions was the irreversible damage done to his relationships with his children, particularly the deep rift that formed between them and his fourth wife, Robyn. What began as subtle shifts in loyalty and attention snowballed into an unbridgeable divide, leaving many of Kody's children feeling abandoned, betrayed, and resentful. The roots of this fracture can be traced back to Kody's shocking choices, his blatant favoritism toward Robyn, his neglect of his other wives and children during crises, and his refusal to acknowledge the pain he caused. These decisions didn't just strain his plural family, they drove a permanent wedge between his children and Robyn, one that may never be repaired. The early signs of favoritism. From the moment Robyn entered the family, there were signs that Kody's dynamics with his other wives and children would change. Robyn, who joined the Browns in 2010 as the youngest and most legally recognized wife, thanks to their marriage and adoption of her children from a previous relationship, quickly became Kody's emotional priority. While plural marriage is supposed to balance love and attention equally, Kody's actions told a different story. He spent disproportionate time at Robyn's house, invested more in her children's needs, and even broke family financial protocols to support her, such as purchasing an expensive home in Flagstaff while other wives struggled. The children noticed. Christine's daughter, Gwendolyn, openly discussed on social media how Robyn's kids received preferential treatment, from extravagant gifts to more one-on-one time with Kody. Meanwhile, children like Garrison and Gabe Brown, Janelle's sons, expressed feeling like an afterthought, especially as Kody missed major milestones in their lives. These early disparities sowed seeds of resentment among the kids, who began to see Robyn not as another mother figure but as the reason their father was pulling away. The COVID-19 crisis, a breaking point. If favoritism was the spark, the COVID-19 pandemic was the explosion that shattered any remaining unity between Kody's children and Robyn. Kody's extreme COVID rules, heavily influenced by Robyn's fears, required the family to follow strict protocols or face complete isolation from him. While some of his adult children tried to comply, others, like Garrison and Gabe, found the demands unreasonable, especially since Kody himself wasn't consistent in enforcing them. The tipping point came when Kody chose to spend holidays exclusively with Robyn and her children, skipping Thanksgiving and Christmas with Janelle and Christine's kids. This decision wasn't just about safety, it was a clear message about who mattered most. Janelle's sons publicly called out the hypocrisy, revealing that Robyn's adult children were allowed to come and go while others were treated as risks. The emotional fallout was devastating. In one particularly raw moment, Gabe broke down on camera, confessing that he felt his father didn't love him anymore. Instead of addressing these concerns with empathy, Kody doubled down, blaming his children for not obeying his rules and further aligning himself with Robyn. The kids didn't just feel neglected, they felt replaced. Robyn's role in the estrangement. While Kody bears most of the responsibility for the fractured relationships, Robyn's actions and inactions deepened the divide. Many of the Brown children perceived her as manipulative, someone who played the victim while benefiting from Kody's undivided attention. Isabel Brown's major spinal surgery was a glaring example. While Christine's daughter underwent a painful and risky procedure, Kody refused to accompany her, citing COVID concerns. Yet, fans noted that he was still traveling and even attended a wedding with Robyn's family around the same time. The optics were damning. Robyn's needs always came first.